Hey guys, welcome back to another episode. Today we're going to take a closer look at a few semiconductor AI news. We're going to look at companies like TSMC, like AMD and NVIDIA, as there's a lot of discussions talking about CoWoS capacity, which is needed for AI chip manufacturing. Outside of that, I also want to take a closer look at some other AI subjects here and there. So let's take a closer look in today's episode.
I want to thank the Motley Fool for sponsoring this video, and check out fool.com/Jose for the 10 best stocks to buy now. With that link, you get a promotional offer for the subscription service. Now, let's continue with today's episode.
So we can see the year is starting kind of iffy for semiconductor industry. We can see year to date, the stock is down roughly 4.82% as I am recording AMD right now. The stock is sitting at roughly 137%. Today seems to be a nice green day for AMD as it is up 1%. NVIDIA, very similar year to date, has kind of been a little bit iffy, down 2%. But remember, year to date, it's only been 5 days, and we can see the stock is up roughly 1.4%. So the first thing I want to take a closer look at is there are reports that the AI GPU supply to stay tight in 2024, says Gigabyte chairman. And this is something that obviously we've heard a lot about in 2023 and 2024, but it's good to kind of continue to see confirmations. For those that are not familiar with Gigabyte, they do a lot of things in the PC hardware space. In forms of consumers, right, they do kind of use the standard NVIDIA and AMD cards to kind of create their own versions of it. Here we can see, for example, the RTX 4060 Ti Gigabyte version. They also have a lot of things for the enterprise market, and this is usually kind of like your data center. They create servers, high density servers, advanced cooling, things for data centers, GPU servers as well. So think about this like a competition to some extent to super micro computing. If you're looking more at that GPU server, right? Obviously, there's a lot of distinctions between the two, but when we're talking about it in forms of AI, in forms of AI GPU, that might be the easiest way to take a closer look at Gigabyte. So obviously, they do have kind of a very good understanding and visibility of what's happening here in the AI space. So for the chairman of Gigabyte to say, hey, look, this market is expected to stay tight in 2024, I do believe bodes well for the two semiconductor companies right now that we were discussing earlier on, AMD and NVIDIA. More importantly, NVIDIA, right? Because NVIDIA is currently the biggest market shareholder here in AI GPUs. And I do believe they are going to continue to hold the crown here. Now, following suit, one of the main reasons that GPU supply is going to remain tight is because of CoWoS capacity. And that's just a form of advanced packaging. I'm pretty sure we've talked about it in the past. And right now, one of the main players doing CoWoS capacity or CoWoS packaging is Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing. So TSM, for those that know it, right, this is the huge manufacturing company that, let's say you are AMD, you are NVIDIA, you go to TSMC and you say, hey, look, can you use your foundries to kind of build this form of chip for me or manufacture this chip for me? But outside of that, they also have other services like advanced packaging, where it's kind of putting the chips even together to some extent to your finalized form. Within those advanced packaging, they have the they have CoWoS solution, chip on wafer on substrate solution. Unfortunately, for the AI market, this is such a high demand product and they don't have enough capacity right now. And that's what's kind of creating this supply bottleneck at the moment. And we do know that NVIDIA does have a bulk of this capacity as well. So, kind of following through with that, AMD, there are reports that AMD is reportedly looking for alternative CoWoS suppliers as TSMC reaches full capacity. And if TSMC is reaching full capacity, we do know who a bulk of that capacity is going to go to NVIDIA. So again, that kind of just reiterates that bullish sense that NVIDIA is going to remain to hold the crown in this AI space in 2024 and obviously easily in 2025. Within this article, it does says that AMD is talking to firms like ASC, Investment Holdings, Power Technologies, KYEC Electronics, and Windbound Electronics that could be the next CoWoS supplier for AMD. And AMD needs that CoWoS supplier for their MI300x. And I do believe AMD looking for an outside supplier is very bullish for the company in forms of their MI300. I mean, we did hear from their most recent earnings that they believe that the MI300 will exceed roughly $2 billion in 2024 as revenue ramps up throughout the year. So many people believe after AMD mentions this that they're capping themselves at $2 billion. And if they are capping themselves at $2 billion, the main reason for the cap is usually the production capacity of the COWOS advanced packaging solution that I was talking about. But if you have been following this channel, I have taken a closer look at some recent AMD events. One that happened, I believe this one was on December 7th, where they talked with research analysis. And one of the questions came out of how much could they exceed the $2 billion depending on the capacity and the issue. And Gene, the CFO and treasurer of AMD, mentions that they absolutely have more than $2 billion capacity to support the revenue upside. So it does seem like $2 billion is the low end for the MI300, and if they are expanding their CoWoS capacity, we can see this number go even higher. So obviously, that's very bullish for AMD, and I do believe a lot of investors have kind of caught on into this, and that's one of the reasons the stock really much in the past 2 months took a nice shot up after earnings, where the company jumped up over 39% in about 2 months or so. So we can see that the market is very, very bullish for AMD. Right now, AMD is in my position. For me, right now, this is more of a dollar cost averaging. Time is not a time for me to ever go heavy in the stock. Now, continuing here with other recent news, we are going to take a closer look at NVIDIA. We do know that the big consumer electronic event is happening pretty soon. On January 8th, I do believe is when CES starts. And NVIDIA is expected to release their RTX 40 series Super. And we have seen some kind of teaser events that might showcase that that's the case. I don't think the 40 series Super is going to be anything that's going to make the stock for Nvidia. This is just kind of showcasing that, hey, maybe the Nvidia consumer market is a little bit stronger, that they're willing to kind of do a refresh of an upgrade card, which obviously bodes well for their overall consumer market. Outside of that, we also have that there might be some other solutions that CES is going to showcase in the AI market. For example, NVIDIA is working with a few companies in the AI space. So even if it's not necessarily an NVIDIA product, I do believe we are going to see a lot of products in CES 2024 where NVIDIA solutions are being used to manufacture that AI solution, to create that AI software, and so on and so forth, which I do believe bodes well for AMD as a whole. I just want to share my overall thoughts on NVIDIA as well in forms of buy action. For me, this is more of a time of very small dollar cost averaging like AMD. This is not a time where I personally would buy a bulk load, but it's just my overall. Maybe I might be price anchoring. Obviously, we've seen the PE ratio of NVIDIA be below 25 at current levels. So if you are forward looking and think this market is continue to expand, maybe some might see that as a cheap at a cheap price. But for me, this is more of a time of small dollar cost averaging because this could be a very, very volatile year, especially with everything happening in the market right now. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. Take care, have a good day, and see you next time.